Welcome to the 12th video in this series. We're making a top-down 2D racer using Godot. So we have our countdown timer here. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to do some race controls. We're going to keep track of how many laps the cars have done and then detect when the race is over and actually put them into a state where they're no longer able to drive. Now, the way we're going to do this is not just by brutally stopping everything when the first car wins the race. What we'll do is give a bit of grace time for the rest of the cars as well. So maybe they'll have 5 to 10 seconds or something also to complete the race. Anything that hasn't completed the race, then it's just tough luck. To make a start on this, I'd like to actually drop, I'm laughing because of what's about to happen, but I'd like to drop actually into the car scenes. So I've been looking at this before pressing record for this particular video and decided to change my mind on the approach slightly that I was taking with the player car and the CPU car. I can hear you groaning inwardly at this. Don't worry, it's not too bad. And the golden rule usually is never to change your preparation, but nevertheless, I decided to make things a little bit simpler for what's coming up. So if we open up the player scene here, and open up the player script. I did say that we've got the lap completed and the hit verification. That's related to the player car. Now, the hit verification is related to the player car, and the lap completed is also related to the player car. And originally, I was going to do something different with the AI, but it overcomplicated things, and I've decided that we can use exactly the same approach here for both of them, because the AI is going to hit the verifications anyway with its waypoint following. And therefore, there's no real need to overcomplicate things, which I did in the original prep. I'm going a very long way around saying that we're going to move this code back into the base class. So in the file system here, I'm going to find the car here, open up the car scene, open up the car.gd, then select the player car. So let's go up to the top. We're actually going to keep the verifications count of verifications passed, or keep them, sorry. We're going to cut those and put them back now where they originally were, poor things, in the car.gd. And then I'm looking to see what's set up. We haven't got any setup or anything in here. If I go to player car, we do here though. So let's chop that out and put that back in here as well. So I'll put that below the on race starts here. And then go back to playercar.gd. And then down the bottom here, we've got the lap completed and the hit verifications. I'm going to cut those, save that, go back to the car.gd. And down the bottom here, I think we already had a lap completed here, didn't we? But we can replace all of that now and get rid of the super call. So both the AI and the player car are doing exactly the same thing, but it actually works out a little bit better further on. I really did, originally in my original prep, overcomplicate things a bit. And after some of the videos we've done so far, you're probably wondering what in the world overcomplication looks like if I didn't think that was already happening. Let's then go also into the track, and into the track.gd. We are setting up the car here with the verifications and also CPU car. So here now what we can do is simply car like this, and we should be good to go. And then we need the verification updates as well. Let's double check on those. So let's go to verification.gd. Okay, yeah, this one here also needs to be for car. That should be everything we need to do now. So let's run the application. I'm going to press S to start this off. Speed this up very quickly and just see if we get some laps from the cars. And I can see down the bottom that Maisie has put in the fastest lap at 14.49 seconds so far. Then we've had 14.6 and 15, 22-second laps here, hit some oil slicks. But yeah, I can see down the bottom here that they're recording their laps, which was the main thing, and there are no cheat laps or anything like that. Cool, okay, so F8 to close that down, close down the output. You may notice the lap times were slightly odd when we were running simulation. I did too, but I didn't say anything at the time. But I do realize in a few minutes' time that I forgot completely in the code that I've just pasted into the car class to add a line on 142 here to actually reset the lap time to 0. So right now they're accumulating, but we will fix it shortly. Sorry about that. Now, before we dive in and start coding things up straight away, I thought I would add to the confusion a little bit by showing you on a slide more or less what the classes are that we're going to implement, or how we're going to do things in terms of the logic. So we have our RaceController already as a scene. We're going to export the total target laps for a race so we can configure that track by track. The RaceController is also going to have an array of all of the cars, and it's going to have a dictionary as well, where the key will be the car, and the value is going to be this until now not made class, which is CarRaceData. So there'll be a dictionary, key car, and value will be an instance of CarRaceData. This CarRaceData is on the right-hand side here. We're going to create one of those for each of the cars in the race. It'll have the car name. Each time the car completes a lap, we'll increment the completed laps. We'll have a partial progress, which we'll come back to in a moment, the total time that the car has been running, the best lap that the car has managed during the race, and then for the car to know what's going on, the number of target laps. Then with this data being updated each time the car completes a lap, the race controller can ask the question, has the race been completed for a particular car when it completes the lap, by simply getting the race completed. And then it can also get a number for the total progress. And that is the completed laps plus this partial progress. So what is this? Well, you'll see in the race logic implementation that when a car wins the race, we need to give a kind of grace period for other cars to be able to finish. But invariably they don't. If we give a grace period of say 8 to 10 seconds, which is more than long enough, there will be some stragglers and now and again cars that have actually been completely lapped. They're 2 or 3 laps down, so they're never going to complete the race in the time that's allocated. So when this grace period of time actually runs out, what the race controller will do is it will go through each of the cars that haven't completed the race yet, so not race completed, and it'll use their current position along with the curve to get this progress value between 0 and 1 that you can get on the path follows, which is very, very handy. And it'll then give each of the cars that haven't completed the race this partial progress value. Then it adds that to the completed laps, and what you get then is a sorted list eventually of the cars in order of progress they've made in the race if they haven't finished. And then last but not least, the way the race controller knows what's going on is each time a car crosses the start-finish line, it'll then emit the signal with the lap completed data, which at the moment I think it's just printing to the output. The race controller will pick that data up. It knows which car it was because that's part of the lap completed data class that we've made, so it can simply then go and update the race car data in its dictionary for that car. Then when it's been updated, it'll ask that car, have you completed the race? And if you have, that's when it then does the race stopping procedure. So we need to write the CarRaceData class, and then what we'll do is beef up the race controller a little bit, and by the end we should have some kind of semblance of race management. Okay, so now hopefully we've had a good overview of what we're going to do. We can start implementing it. So we'll start off, I think, in the race controller. We're going to be jumping around a little bit with this one, so please bear with me. So I'll open up the race controller scene and open up the script. So first of all then, what we'll do is we'll export from the race controller the actual total laps we want for this particular race. And what will eventually happen is we'll have some tracks which inherit from this track, and we can then customize for each individual track how many laps we actually have for that given race. So at the moment we have the 5 laps as default. Next, back to the race controller scene. So selecting the route node, we've only got one of them. I'd like to add a timer into here, and this is going to be the timer that's going to time the race being over. So I'll call this race over timer. And obviously we can customize this. For now, I'll set it to 4 seconds, not too long, one shot, and definitely not auto start. And what we can do straight away is go to node and double click on timeout and connect that up inside here. So to reiterate, this one isn't to stop the race. This is the one that started when the race is finished. So the first car crosses the line to win the race. This timer will be started. And when it times out, you'll see later on what we'll do is force any car that's still racing basically to stop there. Then the race controller is going to need access to all of the cars so that when the race finishes, it can go through them and stop those that have not stopped. So we'll make a new var that can be underscore cars, and this will be an array of cars. And then later on, you'll also see that the race controller, as I said, is going to calculate the progress that a car's made around a lap if it hasn't managed to complete the race. So it's going to need access to the actual curve as well, which is on the path 2D. So we'll make a new variable called track curve. And that can be set to type curve2D. And we'll initialize this from the track with the setup function. So let's actually make this a setup function. So I'm going to put it above the enter tree here. So we'll do func and setup. And as parameters, we're going to send in our cars array, and we're going to send in our track curve. So I'll copy and paste those in. Then we can set our cars to be equal to cars and our track curve to be equal to track curve. Alrighty then, so before I forget, because there's a good chance of this, let's put this setup actually into the track so that we set up the race controller before we come back and fill the rest of the code. So go to track and go to the script here. Do we have the race controller here? No, we don't. So let's get an access to that. So I'll control drag that into here. And then copying the race controller, we want to set it up with the track curve and the cars. Now, as I say that, I do see in here that we don't actually have an array of the cars at all, do we? We loop through the children here. So there's a number of ways we could do this. I'm going to do this a little bit of a quick and dirty way. So what we'll do is we'll make a new cars array. I'll take that from the race controller and put that right at the top here. So we're just going to make a new var called cars here. I don't think we already have one on track, do we? Nope, we don't. And we'll fill this up as we get hold of the cars. So we'll do cars.append car. And then we can pass this then to the race controller. So we'll get hold of our race controller, then we can invoke the setup function and send in the cars array. And we also want to send in the curve, which I did think we have. Yep, we do here. It's track curve, so we can send that in as well. So that sets up our race controller. Now, before we do anything else, what I'd like to do is just double check that this is actually working. So let's go to the race controller code, and inside the setup here, I'll put pass on the end here, just so that we can put a breakpoint on line 17 for me here. Then run the application, and we should hit the breakpoint. We do, and I'd like to check the cars that we've got here. So we've got local cars, array size 4, excellent, that looks good. And then the self cars as well. Okay, that looks good. The track curve also looks okay to me as well. Yep, excellent. Okay, so stop to close that down. We're initializing our race controller, okay. Now we need to create that CarRaceData class that we can use then to store the progress of the race, basically, for each car as they complete a lap. So inside the file system then, I'm going to right-click on classes, create new and scripts. The inherit here can be just plain old object. And we'll call this then CarRaceData. And I'll click create. Then inside classes here, double-click on that. And we'll make, first of all, before we do anything else, a new class name, CarRaceData. And now we have a few properties to add in here. So we've got variables for the car name and the car number. We'll have the total time taken. Then we're also going to have the number of completed laps. We'll have the partial progress. This will be this partial amount between 0 and 1 that we're in a current lap when the race is forced to stop. So when the race controller's timer has run out after the race is finished, then this partial progress will be set for any car that's still running that hasn't managed to finish the race yet. Also, we'll record a best lap as well. And we'll make that then a constant right at the top of the class here called default lap time. And then we can set the best lap by default to be equal to the default lap time. And later on, when it comes to saving laps to files, so we can retrieve them as well, we can use this for that as well. So if we don't have a lap time for a track, we can use a default when we try and load a best lap time as well. And then finally, last but not least, we've got the target laps, which is the number of laps we actually need to do to complete the race. And by default, we'll set that to 0. That's all of the properties I think that we need for this class, or all of the variables, let's say, for this class. In terms of properties, actually, we'll make a race completed property. And the race is completed when the number of completed laps is equal to the target laps. So we can return here the number of completed laps is equal to the target laps. And then we'll make another property called total progress. And this is going to be a get as well. This is going to be used by cars, again, that haven't completed the race. So what we'll do here is we'll return the completed laps plus the partial progress. And you'll see later on, when we come to doing the sort of finished leaderboard at the end of a race, we're going to be using this to sort the leaderboard. We'll sort by lap and then by total progress. Remember, this one is 0 to 1 for how far a car is around its current lap. So we're nearly there with this one. We've got a couple of functions to write. The first one, probably obviously, is the initialization function. So here what we're going to take in is the car name and the car number. So I'm going to be lazy and copy those from up here. So we've got car name, and then I'll go to distraction-free mode, actually. So hopefully it's a bit easier for you to see as well. So we've got the car number, and then we'll take in the target laps, which will be an integer as well. And then we can set each of those up inside here. So we've got target laps, it's equal to target laps. And then we'll set up the car number and the car name. And for now, that'll do for this class. We'll come back to it to add in a couple of functions in here in a moment. I'll come out of distraction-free mode though. Let's go back to the race controller here. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to create an instance of this race data class for each of the cars that we have inside our race controller. And then we'll update that race data as the cars complete laps. At the moment, we're just printing, but you'll see in a moment what we'll do is use that race data information or the car race data to update the current status of that car. To do that, we need a dictionary of the race data. So that's a key value store. I say we don't need, it's the way I chose to do it. So we're going to make a race data, and that's going to be a dictionary. And the type of this is going to be car and CarRaceData. I will initialize that to an empty dictionary, something you don't need to do by default in Godot, but I'll do it anyway. And inside the setup, we can initialize this dictionary or set up this dictionary. So we'll do for C in and cars, and then we'll say that our race data, and the key here is going to be the car itself, is equal to, and then we want a CarRaceData.new, and then we want to send in the C dot and the car name, the C dot and the car number, and finally the total laps. So that should have set us up now with a dictionary with a piece of CarRaceData or an instance of CarRaceData for each of the cars that we have. Now what I'd like to do is actually print here and also put a debug breakpoint and check this as well. So what we'll do is we'll do print, and I'll do RaceController init with, and we'll just do %d cars. It's a simple check. I just want to check that everything's okay. So we'll take cars.size. So I'll put a breakpoint here actually, so we won't see this. And then we can run this, and we hit the breakpoint, and let's see what we have here. So scrolling down, race data, okay, it's a dictionary size 4, and each of the keys looks like our car. So if I click on that, I don't see anything, but if I click on this, I do. Okay, so that's Maisie, Flossie. Okay, excellent. So we've got all of the cars inside the dictionary here. Cool. All right then, so I'll stop that, take away that breakpoint. Pretty happy with that. Now we can make use of our car race data by updating it each time a car completes a lap. To do that, let's check up here. We need a bit of control in our race controller over whether the race has started or not. So we'll add a variable for started and a variable for finished. And then in the enter tree, we have ourselves hooked up to the on-lap completed. Let's hook ourselves up also to the race start as well. So we've got dot and on race start, and we'll then connect that to a function that we'll call on race start. Now we don't have that function at all, so what I'll do then is make that function actually here. So we'll do func on race start. And here we want to say that the started is equal to true, and we'll put finished is equal to false. This should never happen, but just in case. And in fact, what we'll do here is we'll put another guard in here. We'll actually put if started. This should never happen, but if we have already started, then we'll just return and not do anything. Now, as I said, this should never happen in the setup that we have, but I do have in the back of my mind that you might extend this game, or I might actually, and it might be that you want to restart things in the same track with the race controller, so it's probably a good idea to have these kind of protections in here. And then what we can do also when we start the race is record the time that we started the race. And do we have anything for that? No. So let's also make ourselves a start time here. That's going to be a float. And then we can set that using the time class. Actually, I'll make a little bit of space there. That's better. So where are we here? So we'll say the start time is equal to, and then we can do time dot, and there's get ticks millisecond, I think it is. Yep, that's it. So this here, if you're not familiar, is the number of milliseconds elapsed since the engine started. I think it's engine started anyway. Let's have a look. Yep, since the engine started. Okay, so when we get from the countdown timer indirectly via the event hub, the on race start, then we set started to true, finish to false, and we also have our start time. And now what we can do is inside the on lap completed is first of all make sure actually this has been emitted when the race is actually running. So if we've not started the race or we've finished the race, then we're simply going to return and ignore this lap. It's a little bit of a hack, I guess, because it should never happen, but just in case things are being updated simultaneously and things like that in the same frame, we'll protect against this being invoked unwantedly. Then we can get ourselves the car that we're dealing with. So we'll say var car is equal to, and we've got our info dot, and hopefully we've got a car on there. Yes, we have. And now we can add this lap to our car race data for this particular car. So let's grab hold of that. So we'll say var, and I'll say rd for race data, and that's going to be our car race data, and that's going to be equal to then our race data. And the key there is our car. Now we want to add a lap to our race data. And that's going to do two things. One of them is increment the number of completed laps and also check whether we have a best lap with the lap that we've just done. But I don't think we have a function on here yet. No, we don't, to be able to deal with that. So what we'll do then is make a new function called add lap time. And as a parameter here, we're going to take in, funnily enough, the lap time. The first thing we can do is we can increment the completed laps. So we'll do completed laps plus equals 1. And then we'll update our best lap. So our best lap is going to be the minimum of our current best lap and the lap time that we've just sent in. Okay, and we can invoke this then from inside our race controller. So we'll go back to our race controller, and we can take our race data dot, and we can add a lap time, and that's going to be the info dot and the lap time. So to recap, on lap completed is emitted when a car completes a lap. It sends in the info with itself and the other information inside the lap completed data, which had the lap time. We double check we're actually racing, and we haven't finished or anything like that. Then we grab the car, we grab the race data that we have the car that's on our dictionary, and then on that race data we add the lap time, which should, all being well, increment the number of completed laps for that particular car, and also keep track of the best lap time of that car as well. Now, we're not doing any checking yet for the race being over or anything like that, but what I'd like to do is actually quickly check that this is working. So as ever, I'm going to type a pass here and put a breakpoint here. And then before running the application, actually, we have somewhere inside here our countdown timer, don't we? Let's have a look at the countdown timer. If I can open up the canvas, there we go. So on the right-hand side, we have a wait time here of 1 second. I'm going to put that 0.1 so we don't have quite so long to wait all of the time. Okay, I think we're nearly ready to test this out, but with a bit of massive edit cheating, you'll already know that I've made an error inside the code because I'm going to put a note in for you early on in this video. But I forgot, in my hastiness with the car code here, to actually reset the lap time. And I've just discovered that, testing things out. The good news is everything else works, but the lap time does need to be reset to 0 here. My apologies for that. I was too fast to do that. What did I say? Never change an original plan because things like this happen. Anyway, with that done, what should happen now is if we start the race, or I do, should now get some sensible lap times. So what I'm going to do is come back now after hopefully a genuine fade and show you some of the data. Okay, so I'm back with the game running, just stopped at the add lap time. I've actually let it go a bit, and Flossie has just completed 3 laps with the best lap time of 8.23, and I've been actually seeing reasonable lap times out of here, now the lap time's being reset, but also the best lap times are also being updated quite nicely as well, which is really good. So for me, the application and the data here are all running and being collected okay. And I think probably for this particular video, because I think this one's been quite intense with all the things that we've been doing, that's a good place to stop. And what we'll do then in the next one is we'll finish off the logic of the race controller. So that's seeing when the race is over and then forcing cars that haven't managed to complete the race by the end of the timer to basically have this partial progress on the lap that they're on. So we'll look at that in the next video.